IP28 is also known as the Peace Act. That's the actual name of the initiative, the People for the Elimination of Animal Cruelty Exemptions Act. And we take that name because it describes very accurately what the initiative does on a legal level. It removes exemptions that are already built in to Oregon's animal cruelty laws. Oregon is not alone in this, having exemptions. Every state has exemptions from our animal cruelty laws, and that allows us to live in a world where some animals are protected and some animals are not. So, for instance, in Oregon, animal abuse is defined as the intentional, knowing, and reckless injury of an animal. When I hear that definition, that makes sense to me, and as I'm sure it makes sense to many others. It's very intuitive. If you're intentionally injuring an animal, that seems like I would call it abuse as well. But of course, we intentionally injure them when we slaughter them. We intentionally injure them when we experiment on them. We intentionally injure them when we hunt them. The reason that those are not considered crimes of animal cruelty or animal abuse in this particular case is because Oregon state law has a list of exemptions. It says the following activities do not apply to our animal cruelty laws, and those include treatment of livestock being transported, animals involved in rodeos or exhibitions. All poultry animals are exempt, just as an entire species. Animals subject to good animal husbandry practices, which are defined as really any common practice in the industry. So it's, in a way, an industry-defined exemption. The killing of all livestock animals, so-called livestock as defined under state law. Fishing, hunting, and trapping is an exemption. Wildlife management is an exemption. Scientific research is an exemption. Pest control is an exemption, and any forms of handling and training techniques are exemptions. So clearly, I listed quite a few of those exemptions. The only animals that remain are our companion animals, the ones we keep in our homes. For them, it would be animal abuse to intentionally, knowingly, and recklessly kill them. The one other exemption I didn't list is for veterinary practices. That is one exemption that would remain if IP28 were to pass. All of the rest that I mentioned would be removed. That's the main impact that IP28 has legally. It says it just amends our animal cruelty laws so that those exemptions are no longer there. And when you take out those exemptions, now the killing of livestock would be considered animal abuse. Experimenting on animals would be considered animal abuse because it involves an intentional, knowing, and reckless injury.